If you're just starting your UniFi Protect journey, you might have a lot of questions. And that's normal. I was the same way when I started. For example, what's a UniFi OS controller and what does that mean that is compatible with UniFi Protect? And through that, well, which cameras should I choose to go with my project or even my home? And how do I power those cameras? Because there are so many PoE switches available. So which one should I choose? And does a third-party switch works with UniFi devices? Well, all those questions will be answered in that video. So this video is a beginner's guide that starts from choosing the UniFi OS controller, choosing the camera, and the right switch to go with your system, whether it's a residential installation or a big project. So there will be no secrets left for you. We'll go over all the devices and finishing with the configuration of your system. All right, let's get to it. All right, so the first decision you need to take is which UniFi OS controller you need to choose. And you need to choose one that is compatible with UniFi Protect. UniFi Protect is the app-based or web-based systems that help you monitor all your cameras. Because yes, when you're working with UniFi, everything happens on the web or on your mobile app. So you don't need to be close to your NVR or any controller to actually monitor your premise or your project. Everything happens there, so you can monitor from afar, do all the configurations from afar. It's really easy and simple to do. But choosing the right UniFi controller might not be as obvious as you think, because when you go on the UniFi website, you see a bunch of controllers, but what controls what, right? And a good way to actually find the ones that are compatible with UniFi Protect is to access their capacity calculator page, because on there, all the devices are compatible with UniFi Protect, so you can actually choose right from here. And that's actually a great point to start, is that you can use that page to your advantage, because there's a lot of things to consider when you're getting a controller. You need to consider how many cameras you would need in the long run, how many storage space you would need as well, to understand how much retention you need. When I talk about storage retention, is the amount of days you need to record that will be available on your controller. So for example, this is a big NVR, so I might have up to 30 days of recording. But if I take a smaller controller, I might have up to 5 days of recording. So depending on your project's requirements, you might need to have a lot of retention. So this is something to keep in mind, and this is something you can see from the get-go using this page. But before diving into this page, let's look at the different UniFi OS controllers that are compatible with UniFi Protect. So first one is the Dream Router. So yes, it has router in its name, but it is compatible with UniFi Protect. Not only that, but it gives you access to UniFi Network, which gives you control over all your networking equipment if you're using UniFi. But this one, again, good for residential use, but with some limitations, and let me show you. So going into the capacity calculator page, and then we will toggle the Protect right here. So as you can see, if with only one 4K cameras, I'm already maxed out in the UniFi Protect aspect. And if I change, so maybe I want to have 2K resolution cameras, I can have up to 2 cameras on there. So this is about the computing power of your controller, so this is important to keep in mind, again, depending on your project. And not only that, but the storage that it uses. So when we're looking at the UDR, it uses local micro SD card storage. So you would have maybe 20 hours of storage when you're recording on there. So that's why I say for residential use, that might be an option for you if you want to have your cameras maybe just to monitor and not to actually record. It can be a good first step into the UniFi Protect space. But keep in mind that you might not be able to do everything you want to do on there. And something I will mention throughout this video is that when you choose your UniFi controller, think about future cases. So again, if you're doing a residential installation, maybe eventually you would like to change all your networking to UniFi. So does your controller actually gives you access to a UniFi network? So this is always something to look at. And what is nice about the capacity calculator is that it also tells you this feature. So for example, with the UDR, I do have access to UniFi network, and I can see how many access points I can add if I have my cameras. So before I exceed the capacity, I would need to have 15 access points and two 2K cameras. So it's a great way again to scale your system and understand how much you can scale it with the current controller that you have. Next would be the CloudKey Plus controllers. So this one you can already have pre-installed a 1TB HDD or a 1TB SDD directly when you buy your controller, which from the get-go, as you can see, gives you actually more leverage than the UDR. So if we go on the CloudKey Plus with the capacity calculator, here I do have some retention. If I use the same two 2K cameras, I can have up to 9 days of recording. But if I go to my 4K cameras, I can have up to 5, which gives me 2 days of recording. And also, maybe you have noticed, but you can also do some mix and match. So I have 5 4K cameras, but if I want to have HD cameras, well, I can have up to 3 HD cameras and 4 4K cameras, and I will still have my 2 days of retention. And I still have some compute resources to add maybe some access, so some access control in my systems. As you can see, 23 doors, I have my 11 access points. I want to add talk maybe, so as you can see with this one, it is an all-in-one solution, so I can do multiple things and still have some space left. We did a full review about the CloudKey Plus if you want to look on our channel to really have a deep dive before you decide to buy that solution. Next, we're jumping into the UDM series, and I believe this is probably their most popular one. It's more of a prosumer device, and by that I mean that you don't have really any limitations when we're talking about residential use. So you can buy it and do your network, do your protect, and you can install a bunch of cameras. That's actually what we use in our studio to do most of our testings, because we rarely have to go above that. So if we look at the capacity of the UDM-Pro and we click on Protect right here, well, you can see here that the storage drive size is way bigger than the others. So we can have a 24 terabyte drive, which gives you a lot of storage retention, so up to 38 days, with up to 8 4K cameras. And even with all of this, you can still add many access points. Now, if you have 50 access points to your house, congratulations. But if you have maybe a small business, well, as you can see, you can manage a lot with the UDM-Pro. And if I add access control, 23 doors, I still have some power resources to play with. So it becomes a great choice again if you don't want to always think about, do I have enough space to add cameras? Do I have enough space to add some access points? So using the UDM-Pro, it kind of clears your mind and you're just good and you can scale up in the future with your system. And as you can see, they put UDM-Pro and UDM SE in the same category here. So the difference is that the Dream Machine Special Edition has a PoE switch integrated. So the PoE switch is where you would connect your cameras to power them and also transfer the data. So rather than buying an external switch like this one, everything is included in the Dream Machine SE. So you can connect your cameras there, you have access to UniFi Protect, you have access to your networking, so everything under one device, which again can be a really great solution if you just want to be done with it by one device and have everything under the same roof. The next device that is part of the Dream Machine series is the UDM-Pro-Max. So with this, you have an integrated 128GB SSD, and you actually have 2 HDD bays for your recording. So again, more storage retention for your cameras. And not only more storage retention, but also more compute resources. So using the Pro-Max, I can go up to 15 4K cameras. So again, now we're entering more of the bigger projects where you would need that many cameras. So for a residential use, that might be overkill. But again, I can understand people that just want to buy something. And as I said, always think about the future. So you want to add something in your environment, well, you don't need to buy another controller to be able to do this. You can always use the same one, which kind of brings you a future-proof system for any new camera release that would be out there. Next would be the Cloud Gateway Max, which is a nice desktop size controller. You can buy it with storage included, so all the way up to 2 terabytes of NVMe SSD storage. And with this one, again, all-in-one solution. So you have your network, you have your UniFi Protect, you're able to scale up your system, and it actually has great compute resource as well. So as you can see here, I have 5 4K cameras with 5 days of retention and 30 access points, and I'm only at 60% of compute resources. So I can add some access control, I can add some talk on there without busting my limits. So the UCG-Max is, and actually we have it here, so I will be able to show you the size difference when we're talking about an NVR like this one. So it's great for residential use where you can just put it on a shelf and it actually looks really good. You can monitor everything on its small screen, and it's not that expensive when looking at other solutions. Now we're entering a more enterprise level solutions that are UniFi Protect dedicated, which means that you cannot have network using these. So we're looking first at the UNVR, which is a network video recorder, and you have 4 HDD bays. So that means a lot of storage retention. And while this is a big difference from the other solution we just saw, the biggest difference here is the RAID configuration. And now if you want, you can pull out your pitchforks in the comments because I will oversimplify this. But having a RAID configuration means that you have a dedicated hard drive with RAID on it. That makes it so if you have an HDD that fails, so all the recording on this HDD will be restored by your RAID. So through mirroring or parity, this RAID configuration makes it so when you install a new hard drive, everything that was lost is actually copied on that new hard drive and you're not losing any footage. So this configuration can be a requirement for some projects, so it's important to keep in mind that this solution exists under UniFi. But keep in mind that the RAID configuration is not a backup. You should always back up your files. RAID is only to restore data that was lost due to an HDD failure. Next would be the one we have on the table, so the Network Video Recorder Pro. So with this, as you can see, you can have up to 24 4K cameras or 70 full HD cameras and a 60 days of storage retention. So going into the capacity calculator page, this is what it would look like. As you can see, the network is not available when I use the UNVR-Pro, but we're just looking at Protect here. So if I want to have, let's say, my 24 4K cameras, and here are all my HDD bays. So I can select the amount of bays that I have and the amount of storage space that I have for each base. And you can see that my retention changes a lot. So now it's up to 77 days. Now, one thing to keep in mind when we're talking about storage retention, this is an approximate value of it, because when we're talking about storage, it always depends on the amount of events you would get. So depending on where your camera is installed, maybe there's a lot of car passing by because there's traffic, maybe there's a lot of people walking. So depending on the amount of event, depending on the AI that you're using, it will affect your storage capacity. So this is just to give you an idea of what it can be, but it's not necessarily accurate depending on where you install and how you would use your camera. So this is a reference point. It's really good, it helps you make a decision, but keep in mind that it's not a perfect value. Next is the Enterprise Network Video Recorder. So as you can see in the specs, you can have up to 70 4K cameras or 210 full HD cameras. It has 16 drive bays, so a lot of storage can go in there. And finally, the last one is the Dreamwall, which is another all-in-one solution. So it's able to do networking as well as UniFi Protect. This one, the installation is different from the others. So the Dreamwall is installed directly on the wall, and you have PoE switch available as well on this device. So again, there's a lot of choices to be made here. If you just want to put your foot on the door for the UniFi controllers, maybe it's better to get not the most expensive one, but again, keep in mind that if you want to scale up your solution, well, you have some good options as well, whether it's the UDM-Pro or the UCG-Max. I think these two gives you a great value if you want to scale up your system eventually, whether it's for residential use or even small businesses. A quick interruption to thank you guys for watching this video. It means a lot to us and it keeps us motivated on creating more helpful guides for you. And remember that the best way to support this channel is that if you need any UniFi equipment, you can use the affiliate link of Pipl Systems that is found in the description. All right, back to the video. Next, it's time to choose your cameras. And there is a lot of cameras to pick from when we're looking at the UniFi catalog. And that's why the capacity calculator is a nice tool to have, because it can actually help you understand which cameras would fit with your controller. Because if you get too many 4K cameras, well, maybe it will not work with your controller. But there's not only that, because you have different models. So you have the G5 series, the G6 series, the AI series. You have some niche products like the AI LPR. So this one is a license plate recognition camera dedicated to really see the license plate from the vehicle, whether it's during daytime or nighttime. And also the form factor. So should you get a dome camera, bullet camera, turret camera, maybe a PTZ? We actually have a video showcasing all the different form factors and what they're good for. But to kind of summarize, when you're talking about a bullet camera, it's usually used for outdoor because it sticks out of your building or your house. So it creates a nice deterrent factor. People see the camera from the get-go, so they might leave your house alone. A dome camera is normally for indoor use because of its subtle look. So you can install it in the corner. People will not feel like they're being watched. And a turret camera is kind of a mix between those two. But now, which one should you choose? Well, it really depends on your projects and where you would install those cameras. Because again, some of them have 4K resolution, some of them have 2K resolution. You have access to AI advanced analytics, so for license plate recognition and also face recognition. You have the AI features for human detection, vehicle detection, pet detection, and you have, as I mentioned, those niche cameras such as a PTZ. So this is a pan-tilt zoom camera that gives you optical zoom features, so you can see up to 22x without losing any resolution on the camera. So this one, it's an hard choice to make because there are so many. But good news for you, they recently released their G6 series that actually encapsulate the nice features from the AI Pro, but at a nice price point that you can buy for residential use. So with the G6 series, you have your 4K resolution, you have your advanced analytics, so it can be a great option there. But again, depending on your projects, it's really for you to choose the right cameras. The one thing I want to touch on is actually the power consumption of your cameras, because not all cameras consume the same power. And this is actually a great segue to talk about PoE switches. Alright, so the PoE switch is actually what will power your cameras and also transfer the data through a single cable. So using a Cat6 or a Cat5 cable, everything goes from the switch to your camera, and the switch is connected to your controller, so this data is transferred here and is stored inside your drives. But one thing to keep in mind is that every PoE switch has a power budget. And by that, I mean that there is a maximum power capacity that you can have on your switch. So if you don't choose the right one and you decide to buy 8 4K cameras, well, chances are that your cameras will start disconnecting and you will lose some valuable footage. So as I mentioned, looking for example at the G5 Bullet, the maximum power consumption is 4 watts. But if I switch to an AI Pro, well, the maximum power consumption is 11 watts. So depending again about the power budget of your switch, this can make a big difference, and this is always something to consider here. And not only that, but it's also important to consider what type of power is required for your camera. Because you have multiple PoE ports. You have regular PoE, you have PoE+, PoE++, and PoE+++. All of this can be translated by their standard they're using and the amount of power they're distributing through their port. So if we look at this switch, for example, it has PoE+, PoE++, and PoE+++ ports. So a PoE+ is about 16 watts, a PoE++ is 46, and a +++ is 76 watts. So a camera like the PTZ Industrial will need a PoE++ port to be powered. So again, this is something to look at inside of the specs to understand if your switch will be able to power up your cameras. And inside of the spec, as we have here in the total PoE availability, you also have the PoE budget. So for this one, it can go all the way up to 186 watt. But if I look at a smaller switch, the Lite 8 PoE, it has a budget of 52 watts. So I know a lot of people kind of cheap out on the switch because it's just to power up your cameras. But again, as I mentioned, it can create a lot of problems if you don't take that in mind when choosing your switch. And yes, if you already have a third-party switch that is not from UniFi, you will still be able to power up your camera. So you don't need a UniFi switch to power up your Protect cameras. But obviously, because it is part of the UniFi ecosystem, you have some advantages by using this switch. First up would be the centralized management. So through the same app and web page you're using to monitor your cameras, you can also access your switch to do the configuration. So you don't need to switch apps to do this. It also facilitates the device discovery and adoption of your products because again, it's part of the same ecosystem. And you also have access to advanced PoE control, so you can really control each individual port to close them, open them, or even change the standard from the port. So now you chose your UniFi OS controller that is compatible with UniFi Protect. You have your camera, you have your PoE switch, you made sure that the power budget was working with the different cameras that you have installed. How to actually proceed and do the setup. So this is what we're looking at next. All right, time to install your system. You have your UniFi OS controller, you chose your camera, you have your PoE switch. So first off is you need to connect your PoE switch to power and also to internet. So keep in mind that all the parts of the UniFi PoE switches, they're also full gigabit internet ports. So you can connect internet in there and you can also provide Ethernet to your different controllers. So in that case, what you need to look for right now, we're using the Network Video Recorder Pro, and you have this little panel that is also an onboarding. So all you need to do is follow what's on the screen for the setup. So right now it's asking us to connect it to Ethernet. So we have our Cat6 cable and we will connect it to the NVR. So this Cat6 cable from the other end is inside the PoE switch. So when we connect it, it will provide Ethernet to our NVR right here. And you can see from the little screen here that it changed, and the next prompt is to download the UniFi application. So we will do that right away on our mobile phone. So you can download the UniFi app either from Google Play or Apple Store. And as soon as you enter the UniFi application, as you can see here, it's found a new device, so the Network Video Recorder Pro. I can click on Setup and it will start setting up my device. Next step is naming your device. So here it's named Network Video Recorder Pro. We can leave it at that, clicking on Next. Then you can see the different drives that you have. So here we have 7 different drives, but we only have 3 hard disks that are inside of our device. So we can see them here, we can see their status, so they're all healthy. I click on Next. Then you have your preferred storage and protection policy. Once you've chosen that, you can click on Next as well. And finally, it will set up your UniFi OS device. While we're waiting here, what you can do is actually go inside again Google Play or Apple Store to download UniFi Protect. Because UniFi Protect is from where you would monitor your different UniFi Protect cameras and also have access to your UNVR. If you don't download it now, well, what will happen? It will just prompt you to this application once the setup is done. And now that you have the application, you needed to create an email or a username with a password to have access to your UniFi account. That also means that you have access to the web-based page of your UniFi account. So you can use your computer to monitor everything that is happening on your NVR and watch your cameras from there, so you're not stuck on the mobile application. So now the setup is complete, and as you can see, I'm prompted to open the Protect app. So I click on Open, and here I see that I am under my Network Video Recorder Pro. Now the first thing you want to do is actually click on the cogwheel on the bottom right and go inside console. Here you have access to your console management. So from there you can see if you need to update your device. For example, here we're at version 5.345 of UniFi Protect, and they just released the 6.0.47. So before you do anything, it's good to always update to the latest version your devices. So you can just click on update here and you will have access to the latest version of the Protect application. As you can see also below here, you can install the Access app and also the Inner Space. So through any controller, when you access the console management, this is where you would see the different UniFi platforms. So if you have UniFi Network, this is also where it would be and where you can update it to the latest version. Now we're jumping to the web page of our interface, so you can access it through unifi.ui.com. Here you enter your email or username with your password and you can sign in. Now I am directed to my main page. So as you can see here, I'm monitoring a lot of UniFi controllers. So if you have multiple projects, this is what is nice about it, is that you have access to all those projects to a single page. So I can jump to one another, see the different cameras, and also do my configuration directly from that web page or even from my application. But now we will focus on the UNVR-Pro that we have here. So if I click on it, well, right now on the left side, I have my UniFi device, but as you guessed it, I have no device available just yet. So the way you adopt device is pretty simple. So you buy a new camera. So let's say we have this AI dome right here, and all I need to do is connect it to the same PoE switch. So I have my Cat6 cable right there. I have my port right here. So I connect it together. Then the camera will be powered up by the PoE switch, and when it will be ready to adopt, it would just appear on my screen. So here you have it. You have a notification on the top right, and you also have it appearing under your devices. You can click to adopt, and there you have it. Your device is added. Now it's asking you if you want to have smart detection enabled on the device. So you can either enable them now or later. But just to guide you through this step, so if you decide to add them later, the way to add them is actually not on the camera itself, it's on your controller. So to enable the smart detection on your camera, so you need to click on the cogwheel on the bottom left. That will give you access to the settings. You click on System, and here you just need to enable the smart detection. So it will give you access to the face recognition as well as the license plate. So this way you have these advanced analytics for your camera. Now, if I go back to my UniFi device, I click on my AI dome, and here I have my first overview, so I can see the status of my camera, the device model, the different settings that it has from the get-go. On the right side, I have my recording settings. So if I want to do continuous recording, or if it's based only on events, I have my different AI events that I have here. So for animal, face, license plate, person, vehicle, and I also have audio detection that I can have here. On the bottom here is about the FPS, video compression, encoding, as well as recording resolution. So if I want to save some space on my storage unit, but again, using the NVR-Pro, I don't really need to care about this because I have so much storage. And this is what is nice when you select that kind of solution. This is something you can just put in the back of your head. You don't have to always think about your recording retention because you only have 2 days of storage space. If I click on settings on the right, so this is the settings for my AI dome. So I can select here the microphone and also the different settings for my night vision. And if we look all the way to the right, here I have my dashboard, which gives me an overview of my controller. So as you can see the difference, the storage that I have and the storage that I have left, all my different storage drives that are working. You can see me, the camera capacity that I have, and if I scroll down, I have also all my different detection from my camera. You have your UniFi devices. Here I have my playback. So here it gives me access to a timeline with the different events that were detected, so I'm able to really monitor any kind of actions. So I could access multiple cameras and see their timeline to see when a subject was detected in front of the camera. You can either do by timeline or by detection. As you can see to the icons, you have a person detection. Here I have a face recognition. I have even audio detection. Next here would be find anything. So this helps you really filter out the subjects you want to find. So either you want to find a person through their face, you want to find audio, you can even find vehicles through their license plate. And if I click on person, so below the find anything, here I have the people that were detected as well as the faces. So it will create an album here, and you can add a name to the faces that were detected. So for example, I can put my name here. So Jeremy, and I can become a person of interest. So if I have multiple faces, this is a favorite, so I will always appear in the first section, and it's also part of the filters now right here. This is also true for vehicles, so now no vehicles were detected because we're inside the studio, but I could create a license plate of interest. So similar like the face, it will always appear first if this is what I'm monitoring. Next would be the case manager. So here you can streamline the different incident investigation and evidence review. So this can be really practical when you want to do a police report. So you can manage all your files and transfer it to the case manager, and you just use this file to report an incident. We went through the settings here. So you have your recording manager, storage manager, as well as your system. Inside the admins and users, this is where you can create a new admin and send them an invitation to become an admin of your system. All they need is to have a UI account, and this way they could access your platform. Here is your system log. So you have all the different detection that happened, and if you have multiple devices, you can actually select the categories and the devices to see their specific log. And finally, you have the alarm manager. So there is a lot of settings that you could go through there, even setting up some webhooks to work with different applications. Now, if we would like to have a more in-depth video on how to create those webhooks, create different alarms and all those different settings, just leave a comment below. As you can see at Pipl Systems, what we want to do is educate you on the different technologies and create this helpful guide so you can also have access to these different features that can seem intimidating at first. Now here we jump from the UNVR-Pro that we have here all the way to our dream machine, so the Pipl Systems setup, because I wanted to show you the PoE configuration that you can do. So when you have a UniFi PoE switch, you have access to these features. So as you can see on top, I have my Protect, I have my Access, and here is my network. So I can really manage any of my PoE ports individually for the device that I have. So I can monitor the different power distribution. I can open or close a port right here. I can change its configuration, its name. So it's really practical to be able to set it up really to your needs. And this is something that is only available if you have a UniFi PoE switch. So yes, you can use a third-party switch, but you would not have access to these kinds of setups. So there you have it. We hope that this video was helpful for you and that you're starting your UniFi journey watching this video. So choosing the right UniFi OS controller, pairing it with the right cameras and powering them with the good PoE switch. So through either PoE Plus port, PoE Plus. So now you know everything there is to know about how to start this setup. And if you have a question, don't hesitate to leave it in the comments below. And if it's a question that is maybe more specific for a project or even for residential use, you can always send us an email at admin@pipl.systems. We have a team of security experts that are ready to answer all of your questions and make sure you select the right products. So if you set your mind on one controller but you're not sure which PoE switch you need to power up your cameras, this is the kind of question you can send us by email, and we'll make sure to answer them. All right, guys, I'm Jeremy from Pipl Systems. See you in the next one.